there's no way. I'm already so still burning. So hold me close now, baby. I do what I'm told, still learning to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line, yeah. You got me shifting the paradigm, no longer wishing, you're my lucky strike. Love the way you ride, look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah. We could roll the dice, act like you're surprised, but you already know. Oh yeah, got lucky overnight. Jackpot when I got the invite. Let me wrap my arms around you, cause I can't go home without you. And my heart just vibe with you, babe. Wanna go sky high with you, babe. Gotta bring you close to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. Cooler than cold, I'm all in, so loaded.
Oh man, I always get a smile on my face when I hear that tune because it's time for another week of the Rec Poker podcast. But tonight I'm smiling from ear to ear. I got a bigger smile than usual because I've got some exciting news we're going to be sharing with our audience tonight. So a few things I have to get into first, just like usual. I want to tell folks that our sponsor is the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. We love them. They're a fantastic group. Our RECing Crew members are the magic makers that make everything happen around here at Rec Poker. If you don't know what Rec Poker is about, we're a largely volunteer-based, enthusiastic, amateur, recreational group of folks who just love poker. We love playing poker, talking about poker, studying together, winning together, commiserating when things don't go our way. And we just have a lot of fun here on the Rec Poker podcast every Monday night. We're going to be talking to the poker boss in just a moment. We've got some exciting news about the first ever WSOP Las Vegas meetup game that Rec Poker is going to be running. But first, I would be remiss if I didn't introduce myself. I'm Jim Reid, Bluffsterini in the home game and at Rec Poker Jim on Twitter. But I'm just the guy that they give the mic on Mondays. If you want to find out about the rest of the RECing Crew, the real movers and shakers around here, you have to go to rec.poker/crew. But if you don't, that's okay, because you're going to meet two of them right here tonight on the show.
Well, I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5B5 on Twitter or 5x5 in the PokerStars home game.
And I'm John Somsky, also known as Poker Geek MN everywhere.
And like I said, we've got a fantastic guest lined up today. Before we get into the interview, I just have to remind folks that tomorrow is the first Tuesday of June, so you can join our Tuesday night home game club for free. And all through June and July, there's going to be two separate leaderboards for a prize sponsored by 100K Studios. 100K Studios has been working with us to give away a prize of a $1,000 entry to a Run Good event later this summer. All you have to do is play in our Tuesday night home game league, just like you would for free normally, and we'll take care of the rest. Also, we're going to give away a copy of GTO Poker Simplified at the end of the show by Barry Carter and Darrow Carney, because it's the newest subject of our book study. The first session of our new book study will be this week. So tune in to the end of the show for our food drive, our food bank raffle to win a copy of that fantastic book. But the one thing I'm really excited about, and we have to thank our guest today, Sean McCormack, because he's the poker boss. And he arranged for the very first Las Vegas Rec Poker meetup game to be happening at MGM Grand on June 28th. So if you're down there enjoying the series, or if you live nearby and want to get a piece of the fun, come on down. We're going to be at the MGM freaking Grand playing in a RecPoker meetup game. I'm going to be there. Some of the other panelists will be there. I know a lot of our members and friends of the show will be there as well. So I'm super excited about that. We just got the details out today. So without further ado, Sean McCormack, they call you the poker boss, and I understand why, because we had a couple emails back and forth, and then all of a sudden results are happening. Things are going crazy out here. First of all, thanks for helping us put all this stuff together, and mostly just thanks for coming on the show. I can't wait. You've got some really cool stories. I can't wait to get inside that head of yours.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on the show. And I got to call you out, that little dancing you're doing in the beginning. I knew I was in the right place because you're already hyped. You're already hyped and ready to go. And that's me at 5 a.m. That's me at 5 p.m. As long as I'm doing something I love, it doesn't matter. So it's just great to see that. But yeah, with the meetup game, I'm super looking forward to it. Just yet another game I'm helping to set up that I unfortunately can't play in. But that's okay. I am going to watch all the chips fly and watch all. I'm be happy to get over there and meet all the players from RecPoker and engage with them. So it's going to be a cool time, fun time. Glad we were able to cement a date literally right before this. Setup. We've been talking about it for weeks, but to hear it from Steven and that crew over at MGM Grand, they're ready for you guys and ready to get the chips and cards flying.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. So Sean, we've actually only sort of met over Zoom once. We've emailed and DM'd a few times, but I could tell immediately this is someone who's about as enthusiastic about poker as I am. I could tell it was going to be a good conversation when we finally got you on the show here. So let's actually start with this. So you are in a position to put a lot of these games together. You're the poker boss. You've got a very cool title at MGM. Why don't you tell us a little bit about sort of what your role is with them in the poker world right now, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about your story and some other juicy details I want to pull out of you before we're done today.
Sure. So first and foremost, like, everybody keeps asking me about my job and my new title, because it is a cool job title. Like, how many poker strategists are there that work for a casino? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of interesting. I'm almost trying to find another person that has the same job. A lot of people have do a lot of duties that make up my job, though. So there's a lot of cool, awesome all-stars out there doing kind of what I'm doing too. But yeah, it was funny because one day I posted kind of like, I'm still in awe of my new job and how cool it is and stuff like that. And I posted a picture right outside my office with my name plaque on it. Of course, I have my title. And then, of course, D Negs hops in real quick to say, okay, poker strategist. So are you going to tell me what to do under the gun when it's been raised and I have nines? And like, it was just so funny. I'm like, no, Daniel, if I knew that, I would be on your side of the table, because I'd much rather be playing it like a lot of us got into poker because we love the game so much, but not everybody is born to play just this exclusively. So very awesome new gig and everything. And I'm just, I'm having the time of my life doing it.
So tell me a little bit what goes into a typical day in the life or a week in the life of the poker strategist for MGM. What do you find yourself, other than just taking delightful calls with poker organizations like ours? What's on your to-do list typically?
Sure. And, I have to just real quickly tip my cap to like my two direct bosses who went way out of their way to know how important poker is for the company, how important poker is for the future, and wanted someone to kind of look at all of our open poker rooms and help synergize the offerings and get everybody talking in the same room. So at the end of the day, my job is just to bring people together in the company, all of our poker leaders, like this massive think tank, and just make it better. And I think we've already done that because we have aligned ourselves with people in these rooms that are hungry to learn, hungry to grow poker. And it's not just about a paycheck, clocking in at 9, leaving at 5. These people that we've put in these positions really are passionate about the game, and they work it like I did. We're a 24-hour business. And as long as you don't ever lose that passion, it doesn't really matter what the job titles are. We're moving and advancing the game forward. And that's what we all want.
Well, I love to hear that priority of poker, the way that you describe it, because I think a lot of individual casinos, poker, and, I'd love to actually, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So talk to me about this a little bit. I get the sense that from some casinos, like they'd just rather have slots or something else there that maybe makes a little more money hourly or has fewer costs associated with it. I feel like a lot of the benefit from poker is its intangibles, bringing people in, having people there waiting on the list, having people there getting frustrated every once in a while, maybe, and blowing some steam off. Is that typically true? And what makes it different here at MGM?
Poker is really tough to evaluate if you just look at a balance sheet. And a lot of people look at it and go, oh, this is what poker does. Okay. And speaking from a Vegas standpoint, it's very different regionally and globally. But from a Vegas standpoint, Vegas is the entertainment capital of the world. So if it's not producing a profit, we need to reassess fast. And I'm not saying poker is not profitable. It is. Of course, poker generally doesn't lose unless it's just mismanaged. You give away too much, you're not charging the right pricing and stuff like that. But for the most part, poker doesn't lose, but it doesn't win big either. You know what I mean? I always say in Vegas, it doesn't matter which property it is. It could be ultra luxury property like an Aria Bellagio. It could even be smaller properties around the city. But at the end of the day, like the most profitable day in table games, one day is going to outearn your poker room in a year. That's just realistic. So it's more of getting people on property and getting leadership to buy in on the why. So that's been a big part of my job. Why do we have poker? And when I started to dive into the numbers and I'm like, okay, Johnny doesn't just come in and punch and play 2-5 for 5 hours, but he went over here and he got a burger. And then he went over there and he played slots. And then he stayed in the hotel. And then these things start adding up and adding up. And when you really take the value of a player and you start showing what they do beyond poker, you really can open that up. And I guess that, again, has been a big part of my job, is to get in the room with these CFOs and people that are just, all they see is numbers all day. And of course, that's their passion, that's their job, but making them see the human side of poker, what they do beyond just play cards and drop dollars down the rake and stuff like that. And we all know poker players are far more valuable than just what they do within the poker room walls.
That's a great answer. If folks in the YouTube chat have any questions for Sean, feel free to type away. We'll be monitoring that as well. John Somsky, I think you had something.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that I am a case in point. So I would, if I'm going to Vegas or anywhere, any casino location, I won't go to one without poker. So that is a requirement. Matter of fact, I'm not the one who's going to go play the slot machines. I will go out, have the burger. I might stay in the hotel, but I often bring my wife with me. And my wife does spend all of the time at the slot machines that I'm spending at the poker table. So the goal is generally for me to win enough at the poker table to cover her slot losses. So that's why the places like you are doing such a good job keeping poker players happy.
The casino thanks your wife's contributions.
And I can just quickly add, I have the same story. Although I have to trade off. If I'm gonna come on a Vegas poker trip, I gotta set aside some time and earn enough money to send my wife to the spa, take her to like a Cirque show. So there's all this stuff that goes along with a poker trip that doesn't show up just in the poker room balance sheet.
Absolutely.
That was actually one of my questions for you, Sean. How is success measured in an endeavor like that? Because I think a lot, like you say, a lot of the CFOs, they're kind of like, what does the balance sheet show us? What are the revenue numbers? That's how we're judging success. But I think we all feel like, there's more to life than that. So how do you measure the success of a poker room or of an endeavor like this if it's not in dollars and cents?
So, of course, financially, of course, we all know that's how anything is measured for success in a for-profit business.
Sure.
But again, poker is that very different game than the rest of the casino. I always used to tell people there's a reason why, if you notice at our MGM properties, most of the poker room manager and director's offices are located right within the poker room. But you couldn't find the vice president of the casino's office if you tried. And it's done by design. It's done by design. No blackjack player is out there that incorrectly splits fives or something, or whatever they could do in the casino and say, hey, where's that casino VP at? No, but if someone has an issue in the poker room, like in my last case where I was at Aria for the last 7 years, people knew me by name. And of course, the poker boss or Sean, like, hey, problems will get to a point, or concerns, I should say, more likely get to a point where they're going to want to talk to me, where they're going to want to have that engagement. So when you talk about measuring success, it all comes down to guest experience. So we all have cards, chips, dealers, same cocktails, cash in, cash out process. Poker rooms are pretty much built the same. What makes the difference at the end of the day, and you can have elevated TVs and elevated offerings, stuff like that, but it all comes down to the guest experience. And how do you reinforce a good guest experience? You get your team to buy in on a central goal of that guest experience. So something I used to tell new hires all the time, whether when I was at Bellagio or when I was at Aria, was throw away the fact that you think we're in the poker business. We are not. And literally, I would say we are in the guest experience business, and the eyes would all open. What is he talking about? We are in the poker business. And then I explain to them and I get them to buy in on the fact that when a guest comes in, if they have a great experience, it's usually not specifically on win-loss. Yes, that always plays a metric, but that's usually short-lived. Whether you win or lose, the next day, you're thinking back on the experience itself. How were you treated when you got to the room? How did you feel? Were you comfortable? There are things that, intangible things that we can't even always hone in on. Like say you go to Aria. Sometimes I was talking to someone earlier. We were talking about women in poker, poker power and stuff like this. And we were actually trying to talk out how to make the experience easier for new women in poker. Because a lot of times you read things online, you sit down at the poker table and the first thing you hear is, you want to post or wait? How's a new player supposed to know what that even means? You know what I mean? So when you get to these poker rooms, we've made them such that everybody is there to help. Everybody knows they're a steward of the room. And it all comes down to, like I said, just the central goal of offering the best guest experience that somewhere down the road maybe doesn't. We always push ourselves to be better than our competitors at the end of the day.
Well, that's great. And I think that kind of stuff kind of flows from the top down too. It takes that kind of vision and then having a great staff that, as you say, kind of buy into it and know what it's all about, because you really do need to have that that buy-in to carry it through. Chris, you had a question here?
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of wanted to jump on that. And one of the things that we've talked a lot when we've talked with Poker Power, we've talked with some other organizations and people, and we've had guests on the show talking about the poker experience, and there seems to be this sort of sense that there's two groups who have a lot of power and say over what happens. One are the actual rooms and the dealers and the people who are setting that sort of that mindset, that guest experience sort of mindset, and the other are the players. And the players are helping sort of regulate having that we all want this game to grow and having sort of a welcoming space for people. I'm curious about, those two groups of folks sort of each have a role to play, but maybe don't seem to always work together. I'm curious what you think, what's the ideal way that sort of maybe more experienced players who want to grow the game and sort of card rooms, people who are working in these rooms can help just really try to foster that growth?
I think the simplest answer to that is feedback. It's all about feedback. And we often ask our guests, hey, when you leave for the day or something like that, don't just walk out if you had a bad experience. Let us know. Don't say, hey, my ace got cracked by ace king. Not much we can do about those things, but but definitely let us know if there's something in your experience that you didn't like. I say this to the players as much as I say it to the staff. You can never over inundate me with information, whether it's positive information or it's concerns that things we need to work on. That's how we get better at the end of the day. So feedback. Let us know. And it's just, poker is that interesting game that is a partnership between the player and the house, as opposed to every other game the house has. But I will say this, as funny as that sounds, I always tell the players, just remember at the end of the day, it's a partnership, but it's 51% here. I have to still be in control. At the end of the day, someone has to make the tough decision. I actually always say that running a poker room is like playing PLO. You hope you're 60-40 ahead. If you can make 60% of the field happy, you'll probably get the other 40% to buy in at some point, because the masses will eventually be like, no, this is good for the game. But it's fun when two big names, you know, which we have a lot on Twitter and these spaces, and they collide. You love watching it. And operators like myself, and I'm sure others too, we kind of just sit back sometimes, grab the popcorn and just watch the circus, and then adapt and make business, you know, decisions based on those things. But it's definitely a community vibe. It's definitely a, you know, that's what it's all about, because without people on either side of the table, this game doesn't exist.
Well, you've obviously, this is something that you've grown into. I know you were at Aria for a long time, and listen, man, everyone that I've spoken to has really enjoyed playing at the Aria. I've had a great time when I was down there as well. So you're obviously doing something right there. What are some other experiences that you've had professionally that have kind of helped set you up for success with the role that you have now at MGM rather? I keep wanting to just throw poker strategist out there as often as I can. That's but yeah, what are some other stops you've made?
Don't worry, I keep saying it too. I think it sounds cool. So yeah, I'm gonna lean into my own title sometimes and just, you know, it's a cool title, you know what I mean?
It is. Make the most out of it, man. Come on.
But you know, the funny thing is, I've been playing poker my whole life. My dad taught me poker. I'm an East Coast guy. I'm from Boston originally. So like 7-card stud was the game back then. And it's still the most games you'll ever find in stud is probably on the East Coast, like New Jersey and Foxwoods and Mohegan, more than anywhere else, anywhere. Like in Vegas, you can't find a straight stud game ever, like ever. It's always in a big mixed game and stuff like that. But like I said, I grew up playing the game, but I had no, you know, we didn't have casinos in Massachusetts. I had no thoughts of even going into the casino business. I went to school for computer engineering, actually. And I kind of fell out of love with it when I noticed that I was doing a lot of lonely days with just me and my keyboard. And I think a lot of people will speak to the fact that I'm really high energy and I need to be surrounded by people. So, you know, I kind of left Massachusetts. I guess I'm just going to tell you my story a little bit. I'm just going to say,
bring it on. Yeah, that's what we want. That's what we're here for.
So, you know, I left Massachusetts like when I was around 22 years old and moved to Florida. A buddy of mine opened a photography business out there. And, you know, I was a kid. So I was like, yeah, I'll help out, took pictures, stuff like that. But he moved to Jacksonville, and no knock to Jacksonville. Gorgeous city, absolutely gorgeous city. But it's one of the, when you're 22, it feels like one of the oldest cities on the planet. Sure. So yeah. It took me all of 2 weeks to like, nope, this isn't going to work for me. And I moved a little south to Orlando. And it was a little bit more lively. Obviously, the theme park scene is very like what you see on TV is very different than when you actually, same as Vegas. People have this view of Vegas. And I still surprise older people like in my family that are like, wait, Vegas has schools? I'm like, no, we ship the kids in and out every day. Of course we have schools. No, we're just casinos. That's all we're, no, of course not. So, you know, living in Orlando was that. There was a lot of vibe with Disney, and there was like cool nightlife and things 22-year-olds want to do. You know what I mean? Sleep for 3 hours, drink Red Bull, and pump your fist in the air like your Jersey Shore. That's what 22 is being about. So had a lot of fun in Central Florida. Got invited to play in some poker games. Like I always laugh at like when people talk about like in Rounders, I think they mentioned like playing with doctors and lawyers. I was that kid. I was literally playing with doctors and lawyers, and they couldn't care less if they lost money to me. You know what I mean?
Perfect. Yeah.
And that's when like we're talking 2002, 2003 poker. Like all you had to do was show up and not overplay Jack 3 offsuit, and you were fine. Like seriously, no one was GTO back then. There was no charts or anything. There was no one solving the game. It was literally like, yeah, you just ponied up the money and just played a little bit better than everybody else, and you cashed the game. So played in some games, and a buddy of mine one day was like, man, you really love like poker and like card games and stuff. I'm like, yeah. He's like, you should work in it. I'm like, working it? It's Florida, mind you, 2003. The only thing Florida had was dog tracks. And the betting limits were 2-2, not even 2-4. It was $2 every street, 2-4-6 capped at 8. No limit, no pot limit, none of that. When I eventually get to my first job, I actually went up to Daytona Beach Kennel Club, the first place I ever dealt. And I'm dealing games, like I said, $2 games. I'm dealing games with quarter chips, quarters, not $25 like we call quarters, like physical quarters. And it was just such an awesome experience. I mean, the ceiling was this low. It was yellow from when people used to smoke. It was like crazy days. So many fun stories from back then. Maybe I'll share at the end. I'll share a really fun story, but I'm going to disclaimer it. Don't do this at home, dealers. But anyways, so dealt at Daytona Beach for maybe like a year and a half, 2 years. And a buddy of mine again was like, hey man, we should deal like a WPT event. When you're a dealer in Florida, you live in a box. You don't know. And back in 2003, today the internet made us all closer together, of course. But back then, it's like you didn't know about the World Poker Tour except 2 a.m. Flipping through the TV. You know what I mean? Totally. And so I was like, how do we even apply? Thinking I have to go work for the World Poker Tour. My mind couldn't think that I'm actually working for the casino and the World Poker Tour is partnered with it. No clue. So 2006 went to Tunica, Mississippi, of all places, to the Gold Strike Casino, which was, I think it was called the WP, or the World Poker Open at that point. And the WPT was in town, and it was such a wild experience for me. But the Gold Strike was owned by MGM Resorts. At that time, I believe it was MGM Mirage, and we owned the Gold Strike actually up until about 3 months ago. We just sold the property. So when I was dealing there, you know, these big tournaments, you got the South, you got Mississippi. You don't have like big tournaments all the time. It's just, you know, 13 table card rooms, and then suddenly explodes, and it's like looking at the World Series almost, just this ballroom with massive amounts of tables. So they needed help to run this event, and the Bellagio team was there to help them. That's where I met Hall of Famer Jack McClellan, which was our TD at the time at Bellagio, and I met a bunch of the crew, and I just made an impression on someone, and they were like, hey man, you like this stuff, come to Vegas. Like when we used to give jobs to anybody. Oh, you're passionate about poker? You know a straight beats or a straight beats straight. Come on, let's go. Flush beats straight. You got
that's basically how I got this job, Sean. So yeah, I totally understand. We're on the same page there. Yeah.
I think I saw in my first audition someone dealing the cards like the flop one at a time, not spreading it out. And that person has worked at Bellagio for like 15 years, by the way. Great guy. And but poker was just different back then. There's so like people always ask me about the old school stories, and I got a bunch. But yeah, it was just such a fun time. So I ended up going back to Florida, and we're there. Me and my buddy were there for like 3 weeks, and then 3 p.m. in the afternoon, just like young kids in their 20s do, we're just having like lunch or something. I think we were at like a Checkers or something, you know, fast food, Florida fast food. And he's like, man, we should just move to Vegas. And I'm like, man, you're not serious. You're not even. Like, I already made a big move. I moved Boston to Florida. That I've already shown commitment. Now he's like, no, seriously, we should move. I said, all right, I'll make you a deal. Mind you, I didn't know 2 minutes ago I was going to make this deal. So I've already been up like, you know, probably, I mean, it's 3 p.m. I'm 23 or something like that. So I've actually probably only been up for an hour or two. But yeah, in fairness, so I say, all right, I'll come by your house tonight at midnight on the dot. Have your bags ready. He's like, all right, bet, let's go. So he goes home, I go home. There's no way no way. I pack a suitcase, put it in my trunk, drive my Volkswagen Jetta over to his house and toot the horn. And sure enough, 4 seconds later, this guy walks out with 2 suitcases in a hand. I never looked back. I went back to Florida to close out my lease or whatever I had, a apartment or something like that. I had a girlfriend at the time, so I had to kind of move her with me. She's not my wife, so I hope she's somewhere. I'm sure she's doing fine. But yeah, it was just such a great experience. And people like, you really just went all in, huh? And I was like, yeah, it was something I loved. And then in November of 2006, started working at Bellagio as a dealer. And I knew within 30 days, I wanted to run a poker room. I knew I wanted to move up. I knew I like watching the players, all the stories. And man, if Twitter Spaces and all that stuff were around back then, the stories would have been even crazier. Maybe we didn't want content creators back then because maybe we didn't want to capture all those moments. So, but no, it's such a good time and such a, you know, just a crazy jump off point, and just said, hell, I just went for it.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And you could tell, I mean, you've been drawn to it, obviously, like you say, your whole life. Dealing, you get so much experience, you kind of see both sides of it. Like I think dealing is probably where a lot of professionals get started, just because you kind of need that context. You need to kind of be immersed in it that way. And so what was your first step out of the box there? Or you didn't go straight to heading up the ARIA? What was your first promotion out of the pit there?
No, so I'm kind of proud that I went through every step, because it gave me an appreciation for every job within the poker room. So I went from dealer to supervisor, and then ARIA opened in the December of 2009. So somewhere around mid 18, when we were building the monstrosity that is City Center, which is just this gorgeous palace. We don't even really call it, we call it the City Center campus, but it was just something that was unheard of. No one did these mega resorts like this, and the Mirage was the first real like mega resort. Steve Wynn designed that beautiful hotel. But what ARIA and City Center did, it just made it fully immersive, with the beer tower where you could live in, with Vidara behind it where it's non-gaming, with, it was called the Mandarin Oriental at the time, but it was, it's now called the Waldorf Astoria, which we don't own, but like just all that pieces and everything. It was so great. And yeah, now I'm just babbling. Now you got to ask me another question.
So I mean, I think people get a sense that like if you love poker, all the jobs in the poker industry are fun, and I'm sure there's some hard work, but it's just like, go you whistle to work every day. What are some hard parts of being in the poker industry, or what are some of the downsides, other than not being able to play in all these games that you're getting to set up, that outsiders might not just think to expect?
Sure. I think the hardest part about working operations in poker is being able to separate being a player at times, but always wanting to be an advocate for the players. And sometimes those lines get blurred, especially in big corporations. Obviously, if you work for a single owner card room operator, he or she is probably a poker enthusiast. So you get to talk out and suss out all kinds of business strategies, excuse me, and plans. But when you work for a big organization, which just has, there's probably 100 different divisions within ARIA alone, it's a lot of moving parts, and getting everybody to buy in is like, that's really the toughest part. Sometimes you see someone, like players will often bring me the newest, greatest idea. We're going to do this. I got a new game, or we're going to do this, or let me, I can show you how we can branch out and reach more people for you, and all kinds of different crazy ideas. And some of them seem actionable, and some of them are great. And sometimes we can't make them actionable because a lot of cooks in the kitchen to approve it. And sometimes just because I think something's good for poker, it might not be good for everybody within MGM Resorts. That being said, I again have had the pleasure of not only, even before I was in this position, looked at the guy to like come to for like poker strategy, but now in this position, I'm in meetings now I never thought I would be in. And I'm just like, and the humbling part about it is really finding out what people think about poker. And most people in my company are very supportive of it. Although we all say the same thing, man, poker players can be drama sometimes, can't they? And I say, yes, we all are. And too bad, just take it. Take us or leave us. Why not?
Well, you're the second guest that we've had on recently that's talked about poker or Twitter Spaces and sort of that arena for exchange of ideas and conversations. You're obviously pretty excited about that. Talk to us a little bit about what you like about that, or what you think is kind of interesting and new about that dynamic.
So it's just kind of like what I was saying my job is. My job is to get everybody in a room and take these things out. That's what Twitter Spaces are doing. And they're making the everyman available to, or should I say, like big names in our industry available to the everyman. I don't mean myself. I mean like Dean Eggs jumps in these spaces. Like big name people are, Jennifer Tilly hopped in a space one time and was talking, and it was like, what is going on here? And it's like, that is cool. But because at its root, that's what poker is. How often can you just pony up, you can go play $1,000 event and might be seated in Kevin Hart. You can go play a Poker Stars event online, and maybe you're seated next to some big football, soccer in the US player. You know what I mean? Like you see these incredible moments that you just don't see anywhere else, because at the end of the day, poker is that great equalizer. These people that again, I've seen some of their houses and what they drive and what they're, what they spend things on. Some of these people live in the clouds. And when they're at the poker table, they treat you like everybody else because they love the game so much. They're so interested in your story. So even like I said, big name celebrities, and I don't like to drop names too often, but when these people are around and they treat you like you're their friend that they've known forever, just because you have this bond in this crazy game of clay chips and cards, it's very humbling and it's very cool.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I really loved about joining RecPoker was that it's a different kind of group, because what brings us here is our shared love. And like we all have bought into this goal of like making the poker world a more fun place, a brighter place, a more encouraging place. And whatever it is that we do in our lives that's work, we kind of get to leave that behind. And when we come to the poker table, we're already in this camaraderie. We're already in this group where we have this common love, this common element. I think that makes it so much easier to get along and to form relationships, because you kind of already have this stuff in common, which is fantastic. That actually tees us up for another question I had for you. So I think there's kind of this tension in the poker world right now as content creators are coming to the fore. People want to be filming more stuff. They want to be sharing stories from the table. Often that's in conflict with rules that casinos have about not allowing, video recordings. And I think as an outsider, you get a sense that casinos have a lot of sensitive information, security information, game security information that they don't want broadcast out to the world. But I think it's undeniable that there's a dynamic promotional element to a lot of this vlogging and a lot of this getting into the seat of the player at the table. So I guess I have two questions for you, Sean. So how valuable do you think that kind of promotional element is? And what kind of success have you had navigating that tension between the legitimate security concerns of the casino, but also wanting to really capture this enthusiasm and passion that's happening at the tables?
So my simplest answer to all of it is we're in the digital age, and if you don't embrace it, you'll be left behind. I can admit myself that 8 to 10 years ago, when people were pulling out phones and stuff like that, I was even one of those guys that was like, whoa, you can't do that. I remember the days where pulling out a cell phone in the sports book could get you thrown in jail. Like,
sure.
It's crazy as that is. We literally had like, they're called NRS codes in Nevada. Nevada's revised statutes prohibiting phones in sportsbook because the casinos, or really the regulatory people, were worried that someone would be like, oh yeah, let me get the bet on the ninth pony, or whatever people say. I don't bet ponies. You can tell right now. There's somebody watching that bets the ponies that's like, he doesn't know what he's talking about here. And you would be right. But yeah, it's been a really cool, eye-opening experience to kind of go full 180 and be like, no, I'm full in support of this now. I'm one of the biggest advocates for this, and I know the power of the reach. A buzzword that we hear a lot in businesses these days, and my company is no short, is having an omni-channel approach to how we do business. And if anybody from my company is watching right now, they're probably like doing the eye roll here, because it is a catchy buzzword. But when it comes to vlogging, it really holds true, because these vloggers come in and capture their audience is sometimes people we can't capture.
Right.
Just because we're MGM Resorts and we have the massive branding departments and loyalty departments and all, doesn't mean we hit 100% of the people. There are absolutely people that, Kmart, a good guy, a content creator from Canada, obviously, a great guy. And his reach, I know he's reaching people that we can't through print ad or even digital ad and stuff like that. So when a guy like that or anybody comes in and they say, hey, I want to vlog, we know, hey, they're going to reach an audience, and hopefully there's some push through that, like, hey, I just filmed today at Bellagio, I just filmed today at MGM Grand. That person sees it, and there's brand recognition, which turns into brand loyalty. And then obviously we benefit from that. The vlogger benefits by, you know, getting their content out, and the people that are getting their content out to benefit by both sides. They're getting their entertainment from one side and they're being pushed towards entertainment in the other side. So I am all in on content creators and stuff like that. With that, yes, of course, from a gaming side, there's security risks. I think most poker players get it at this point. And this is going to change 100 times. Like, we just rolled out our vlogging. It's actually called our guest technology use policy, like last month, and it's version 1. And I told legal, I said, we'll be at version 5.9 before the end of the year, because it will adapt through feedback. Again, talking about feedback, which we're already getting, like, oh, the form is too lengthy, or, oh, the questions are this and that. And everybody that's reached out to me, I've like auto replied, oh, let me help you out. And I've got these people approved. And for poker, for the most part, we're almost, I don't want to say we're just blanket approving everybody. That we've had a couple people that we've denied, either they didn't realize this is Vegas only. We are working on our regional property, so this is a Vegas only approval right now. Or they do certain things that wouldn't necessarily hold MGM Resorts in a good light, so we have to be careful of those things. But at the end of the day, I'm not too concerned in poker. The rules are out there. Obviously, when you're at the table, don't film people's faces. People sometimes come to a casino as an escape. Their anonymity is important to them. You know, Bob the plumber doesn't want you, you know, showing his face because maybe he called out sick to play poker today, guys. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's a very different thing. It's funny, in Vegas, we actually say, I used to tell dealers this, I'd rather you call me and just say you're stuck than call me and fake a cough. Don't fake a cough. Just tell me, hey, I'm down at the Nugget and I'm down 300. I'm like, yeah, you got to get that back. Click. I'd rather have that. I'd totally rather have that. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this vlogger policy is going to definitely grow over time. And it's what I'm hoping to see in the future is a road to where we monetize it for the vlogger. So the vlogger's monetizing it. Hopefully, some of them do it for free just to get clicks and stuff. But you get enough clicks, it's monetized, obviously. There's a road to eventually down the road where we start partnering with the vloggers and say, hey, come in. We have a weekend event. We'll let you run a meetup game. We'll name it the Rampage Open or whatever, and you can get your people in it. We'll push people towards you and you push people towards us, and then we monetize. We put them in the hotel, we take care of their food, stuff like that. I'm not saying it's there yet, but this is the road that I see. And at the end of the day, man, if there's 100 vloggers today, I hope there's 10,000 by next year, you know, and then I hope there's 100,000, because that's growing the game while growing the game. You know what I mean? It's a crazy thing. So I'm just super excited for all of it.
Well, that sounds great. And it sounds like you're coming in on the right side of it too. I know, like, we do our own RecPoker road trips and we go and visit casinos and tours. And I know that for a lot of other organizations, like, there is this promotional element. And it's so, I mean, when you're some of these, like the names that you've mentioned here, like, when we're just out there having a good time doing it, you know, like, this is what makes it so great. Like, we're just traveling around, playing poker, talking to people about how much we love poker. I mean, how can that not be infectious? How can people not want to get more involved with that kind of thing? Here, Chris, you had yourself unmuted there.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I mean, you know, kind of related to that, I think part of the growth of the game has been, and I think different rooms have had different perspectives on this, but has been the ability to watch some of these streams. You know, there have been live stream cash games, live stream final tables of tournaments, and you know, and there have obviously been some security concerns that have come up with that. And I'm wondering about, with this sort of like idea about sort of having more digital spaces, entering more vloggers into the space. What's your take on, like, is a live stream something, does the vlogger sort of fill that need, or is there a need in terms of growing the game for having more live streamed games out in the world, and you know, what's your approach or MGM's approach to that sort of challenge or thought?
Sure. Let me touch on one thing first, the security aspect. So we make it very clear in our policy that, and I know when we say live streaming, like Poker Go, Hustler, we all understand it's behind a 45-minute delay for reasons, regulatory reasons. Now, that being said, bloggers, and when I talk about it, you'll never hear me say streamers. I've literally coached that word out of myself, because in the policy, the very first thing I say when I approve anybody is, it's like bolded, you can never live stream within poker ever. And I don't think most bloggers are out there to live stream, because again, poker content without like graphics and seeing the hole cards and all that stuff is boring. Like, all of us, we love the game, but no one wants to see you use a putter from 400 yards out and shoot 100 shots. Like, that's not fun. No one wants to see that. There's no way to interact with that. And the same holds true in poker. If you're not seeing, poker boomed, we can all thank Chris Moneymaker, 100%. Good friend of mine, love the guy. We're always trolling each other at some point on Twitter or something like that in real life. But and Chris absolutely had a big part of the poker boom. But lest we forget, a couple years before that, the whole card camera was invented. And that is what really started the boom. The fact that we at home could interact. I love going back to the old videos in the 80s and stuff like that, just to see the smoke in the air and all that stuff. And it's just really cool. And like Binions was Binions, and all those the old guard had the best stories that we'll never be able to recreate the same again. But we live in that era. We love to watch it. Like, it's almost like just like story time always. But yeah, it's just a new world today, man. And from, like I said, from a security standpoint, as long as people are following the rules, we're not really too concerned. I am watching the content as it comes out. I literally subscribe everybody that we approve. I instantly subscribe to them so I can watch their stuff. I have a Poker Boss YouTube account, but then I have a burner YouTube account. Like, who has a burner YouTube account? I just have a secondary one just so I can go watch everybody's stuff and like make sure they don't think I'm like watching. I don't even know if they could see that it was me. But anyways, I just love this whole new world of vlogging, and I'm hoping when you guys come to MGM Grand, there's going to be some phones out.
I think we're gonna try and make as big a deal about it as possible.
I love it.
Personally, I'm a Twitter addict. When I'm at the tables, that's where I'm taking notes and sharing hands with people and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'd love to see what else we can get up to down there. But I'm really, I don't know if you've noticed, Sean, but I'm really looking forward to this meetup game on June 28th. This is gonna be pretty special. So that was one thing I want to talk to you about, because that kind of touches on, so people have phones, they've got equipment in the room. There's all this RTA stuff that's coming out. I mean, it's not coming out now, but like it's in the public discussion right now. People having charts or using solvers on their phone while they're at the table. I think I've seen a bunch of different solutions out there, different policies that rooms can take. No phones at the table, like, seems to make a lot of sense from a let's just make sure that it never happens point of view, but I get that that's kind of a tough sell on the poker playing population. I know a couple places have come out recently and just said no charts or assistance at all in the poker room, in the poker space, but you can do whatever you want when you're in other areas of the casino. I know some just say not during a hand, but you're able to look at things in between hands. I don't want to put you in a box here, because there's Sean McCormack and there's also MGM talking here, but do you have a personal take on this, or is there a corporate take that you feel like has hit the right note when it comes to balance on this?
These are going to be tougher conversations as the technology continues to get better and better. I think Apple today released their like vision goggles or something like that. 20 years from now, those could be contact lenses, and we won't know what the HUD looks like. So we have to start having those conversations, and hopefully I'm retired when the robots all run this. But kicking back to our earlier conversation and talking about feedback and what we do with this information, I actually have a monthly poker divisional where I get all the leaders from Borgata all the way to Vegas and everybody in between. I get us all on Microsoft Teams, and RTAs have definitely come up in our last two conversations. And where we always land on it is it's an absolute no at the table while in the hand. Once you leave the hand, it becomes a very hard thing to police. However, like I tell everybody, if you have any concerns with that, just let us know immediately, because we have ways. I don't want people getting in confrontations doing this. Not that I'm saying the gentleman at, obviously the biggest catalyst for this conversation right now was the Gardens Casino. And I have a lot of respect for their poker staff. Kevin is one of their TDs, and he's been in the game a long time and knows this game in and out, and it is just amazing. And it wasn't an easy situation, but what I tell people is, if you give us the feedback and let us do our due diligence, we can solve things a little bit easier, but we're going to need the community on this one, because the technology as it stands right now, and I hate to say this, but not every operator, every cardroom manager knows what GTO Wizard is, knows what some of them don't even know what push fold charts is. And that's me. I think that's a little not doing their due diligence, but sometimes, people get in this game and, especially outside of Vegas, where it's sometimes the market is not so competitive in these casinos. Someone lands a poker room manager job and they're in it for 30 years. So you got a guy that's been doing it since 1995, and he hasn't adjusted to 2022 yet. And again, I don't want to say that's no fault of his or her own. It is, of course, they have to stay up at the time, but that's why, again, I keep saying the word feedback, guest feedback, going into these spaces, looking at the content creation, stuff like that. It's using all of that information, not just to promote the game, but to make the game better. So, like I said, from an MGM Resort standpoint, we've all agreed that never at the table while in the hand. There will be penalties assessed if you do. And if we catch someone more than once, it's probably removal from the room, not just the event. Because I do take a hard stance on this. If you're mid-hand doing it, you're cheating. That is cheating. That, to me, that's no different than placing a $500 in blackjack, seeing that your first card is an ace, and throwing another $500 chip on top. Yeah, we'd all love to do that. First card's an ace. Yeah, let me increase my bet. But that's not how the game works. And that's not how poker works. Poker is still a game of the mind. And that, if we start allowing the, outside help in any way, that great equalizer we keep talking about goes away. The people that we love to watch play this game start to go away, because if they have 0% chance, they already have the worst of it against any pro. I was told this by a pro that still plays, a very, very well-named pro, maybe about 5 years ago. He says, people getting into this game long time that play Hold'em don't have that much of a chance unless you're literally putting the study in and studying to stay in the game. But like in PLO, you still have a chance because variance is high and stuff like that. So if we start letting the machines just crush the variance to almost a zero, where you're just playing perfect poker every time, the game will suffer obviously over time. And the people that are the lifeblood of this game, the recreational players, selfless plug there for you guys.
Bring
it. Those are the players that keep the game going, because eventually 1-2 players go to 2-5, 2-5 go to 5-10, and all the way up. Every single player playing, whether they're playing at Legends Room right now, playing 4,000, 8,000, or they're over at Aria playing in the big, 500,000 PLO game, they all started playing 1-2 no limit Hold'em. I don't care what they tell you. That's where they started. We all get into this game the same exact way. Walking into a poker room with a $100 bill in our hand, nervously looking around going, what do I do now? We all started the same way. And we need to make sure that those people that are coming to the game always feel comfortable, and feeling like you've been taken advantage of by someone you already know has an edge on you just feels extra shitty.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better myself. And honestly, like, I hope we never solve poker, because like half the fun is in studying it and thinking about it and like learning all the different ways that you can exploit people. And solved poker, it will be the death of poker. I firmly believe that. So let that be said. All right. Well, you said if you're kind of in a 24-hour position, you're obviously very passionate, enthusiastic about it. What do you do to relax? What do you do outside of poker that kind of just makes up that minute portion of the week that you're not spending being an excellent poker strategist?
Wait, there's life outside of poker?
I mean, I hate to be the one to break this to you, but I've heard stories.
Breaking news, right? No, I definitely love to unwind and definitely. As funny as it is, I don't play a lot of poker when I'm in town. I actually end up playing poker when I'm on vacation. So I'm like, I'll go away for 5 days, and my wife's already like, "Which day are you playing poker?" She already, because it's different for me to play out of town than it is in town. It's a little bit harder with my schedule, but obviously, also I know a lot of people, and I'll go down to sit at the South Point and play poker at a random casino, and I'm there for 5 minutes, and someone's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing with the BetMGM Championship this year?" And I'm like, I look at them, I'm like, I'm like, "You're speaking in my backswing," and they look at me like funny. I'm like, "This is my golf game, guys. This is my golf. This is my away from it." And I don't say that. I go, "Oh, let me tell you." so I definitely don't, especially as I'm getting older. I don't. I definitely find the importance of unplugging, and I love spending time with my wife and our amazing animals. We have like 5 animals now. We have 3 dogs, a ferret, and a hedgehog. We got a farm. We're working on a farm. Our goal eventually is to run a farm for like aging dogs. Like almost like hospice care for dogs. Because
I love
it's
that.
hard to take care of a dog when they're old, but if we could give them a space, but me, I'm such a softie. I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't. But no, that's definitely a dream of ours. And anything to do with animals, I definitely give some time back. I work with youth. My wife is actually a doctor of special education, working specifically with children with autism. So I volunteer like a couple different autism groups. I go to her school. I read the kids' stories sometimes. I work on projects and stuff like that. Just cool things that just bring me back down to earth from living in the clouds of Bellagio, Aria, and everything that MGM Resorts does every day, because that's what we do. We create experiences, and to create experiences, we have to reach for the sky and reach for the stars, because that's what people come to expect. So anything that is very low key on my days off is very appreciated. Hanging by the pool or something small, and cooking out with my friends or something like that. Anything, throwing bags or horseshoes or even darts or anything like that. Anything that makes me feel like I'm back in a smaller town, as opposed to like the real big massive city is my time away.
That's awesome. Yeah, my wife actually she works with horses, and there's a program for autistic kids working with horses as well that she was really involved with, and it's amazing. I don't think we appreciate how valuable animals are in our lives, pets, and the role that they can have in our lives. So that's great to hear. It doesn't surprise me one bit. Chris, you had one there, I think.
Well, yeah, and speaking of this, I've got a question from the YouTube chat, which is sort of about our downtime. I guess Dark Angel is wanting us to ask what kind of books you like to read.
Oh man. Lately I've been reading, oh man, this is so bad. I'm so bad at crypto. Like, I'm really just bad. I literally just buy it here, but I have no clue. So I'm trying to read about like different ways to be successful in the digital markets and stuff like that, but it's not really going well right now. But yeah, I do read books throughout the year, different books that I different passions in. But a lot lately has been around like different games and like reading more like online stuff that I'm reading about different worlds that I'm not attached to, that I'm interested in, like content creating. I've been watching a lot of like slot streamers and poker streamers and video like table game streamers lately. That's a big part of my passion right now.
Yeah, that question comes from Donna. She seems to think that you'd have a good answer for people when asked about books from Dark Angel Dawn over there. Oh, you're just muted there, Sean.
Sorry about that.
There he is. Yeah, so if anyone has any other questions for Sean, feel free to type them into the chat there. We're going to be wrapping this up here shortly, and then we'll be doing our raffle for the food bank awareness that we do every week. So Donna has a follow-up. Sean, she wants to know, what's your favorite bedtime story?
No comment. She has to pick the story she's going to read me. No comment.
Oh, I see. Something tells me that Donna and Sean were in a Twitter space sometime recently, and something came out of that. I'm pretty good at reading between the lines after all these years.
Hey, talk on something for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, okay. So, well, now's probably a good time for folks to start typing the words food bank into the YouTube chat here. we're going to have Sean back for his final portion of the interview here in just a moment. But as people know, every week we do like to do a raffle to bring awareness to food insecurity. A lot of people that you might not know in your own neighborhood or your own community might be having a little trouble putting food on the table. It affects more people than you think. And so every week we like to have a little raffle here to give away a prize and to draw some attention towards the plight of food insecurity. So if you want to help, all you have to do is just Google food banks near me, and a place will come up that is in your neighborhood that can maybe, if you donate some time, some dollars, or some non-perishable food items, you can make a difference in your own backyard. So please do. If for now, you can help out just by typing the words food bank into the YouTube chat, and someone's going to win a copy of GTO Poker Simplified by Barry Carter and Darrow Carney. Sean, we've got you back. Have you been thinking about bedtime stories? Because it's a subject that our YouTube chat is just buzzing about.
So believe it or not, Donna could read me War and Peace and it would be peaceful. If you know Donna, you know her. Every tweet I read from Donna is in her voice, and I love it. So, yes, that is our running joke that I did ask her on the very first space that we were in together. I said, Donna, just please read me a bedtime story. So she does owe me that. I want it to be something good. I want it to be a good book from the UK that maybe I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So Donna, you've got something to think about there. Sean, you promised us one story that you were going to tell later about dealing back in the day, a room with a yellow ceiling, and you said, don't try this at home, dealers.
Woo! So yeah, this is definitely going back. So dealing in Florida was definitely a different time back then. Florida poker has obviously grown. You got massive Best Bet Jacksonville, even Daytona Beach, where I started, is in a completely new, beautiful building. It's state of the art and everything like that. And all of Florida poker has definitely boomed. But we definitely dealt the game a little bit different. And I remember being in this game and dealing this game, and it was literally, we called it Daytona Hold'em. And the only difference from this game from a regular game was that instead of just being 2-2 poker, everybody started with a $2 ante. So it just made the pot fat. You know what I mean? $18, 18 whole dollars in the pot to start.
Look out.
These pots at 2-2 limit, and you're 9-handed. How many bets did they have to get? We'd be $300, $400, $500 pot. It made no sense. The math still today doesn't make sense to me. So there would just be these massive pots because no one would fold. No one would fold pre. If you had Jack 3 off and the flop came, ace deuce 9, you're like, well, I can still back into a 4-5. You know what I mean? The games were that bad. So, but sometimes people would get a little out of line, like they do in any poker room. And I had this gentleman one day physically put his arms on me because he was frustrated. And anybody that's met me, I'm a gentle giant. I'm a big teddy bear at the end of the day, but I'm not a small guy either. So literally this guy, I'm sitting there and he's in the 9 seat, and literally he grabs my arm. Luckily the deck is my left hand because I'm right-handed. He grabs my arm as I go to like burn and turn or something like that. And I literally was like this, and I'm like, excuse me. And he literally pulls on my arm. So reflex, I just threw my arm back like this, and he flies back out of his chair, and he's laid up against the wall. These rooms were not big. So he's against the wall. And in Florida at the time, I don't know if this still holds true, we had police in the rooms. So police comes up, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. And they just threw the cuffs on this guy. Got him right out of the room. Like, we saw what happened. You don't touch dealers. So it was a great level of protection. Not that I would want to see that in poker rooms these days. Granted, don't touch anybody. We should never have
don't touch the
unwanted.
dealer.
Nobody has the right to touch a dealer ever. But it was such a surreal experience because, like, again, I'm like 25, 26, whatever I was. And I'm just like, you see the cop, like, not security like you find in most of the actual police, Daytona Beach police officer.
Yeah.
That was stationed there. And it was, it was just such a crazy experience. And again, I'm not a violent person. And it wasn't like purposely I wanted to like knock this guy out. It just happened. I turned the way I did, and he was drunk or had been inebriated and fell back. And it was just such an experience. And I'm like, wow, that's going to be a tough one to top. And sure enough, I have hundreds of stories that top it that I can't tell you. One day
we'll
I'll
have
write
to
a
wait
book.
for your book. Yeah,
One day
that's
I'll
right.
write a
We'll wait
book.
for your book. That's right. Well, Sean, thanks so much for your time. This was a really fun interview. I knew it would be. If folks want to reach out to you, if personally, is Twitter the best way? What's the best way for folks to make an impression if they're trying to connect?
Yeah, Twitter's really the only social media that I use for business for the most part. I don't really use anything else social wise. Maybe I should get a TikTok account. I don't know. I don't know how to film video. I'm so bad at those sort of things. But no, yeah, at the Poker Boss on Twitter is the best way. My DMs are always open, so I get message requests all the time from people with different questions, whether it be about MGM operations or a lot of times I get questions from other operators. Hey man, what's the ruling in this game? Or what's guys, do you guys burn when you do this? When you do draw procedures, how do you do this and stuff like that? So it's great to be able to like have a think tank with people, not just in my company, but also outside of the company to make the game better. So always best, like I said, at the Poker Boss on Twitter is the easiest way to find me. And yeah, I'm pretty engaging on there, and I always respond if I win a day without responding to you, send help. I try to be the guy that always answers everybody, but no, it's this has been great, and I appreciate you guys doing this and having me on, and I so look forward to meeting you all guys in real life at the MGM Grand. What did we say? June 28th, correct?
28th. Book it, baby.
I will be there with you guys. Like I said, I won't be check raising you, but I'll be taking notes on how to get my poker strategy on the other side of the table.
Now you're talking. Right on. Well, Sean McCormack, everybody, thank you again, my man. This was great. June 28th, my pal. I cannot wait. We're going to be there, so we'll see you then, if not before.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good one.
All right. Cheers. Well, that was about as fun as expected. Sean McCormack, the Poker Boss, poker strategist from MGM Resorts, and the local celebrity around here for putting our RecPoker meetup game together for June 28th at the MGM Grand. So that one's going to be a lot of fun. I see we've got a few people typing food bank into the YouTube chat already, so that was great. I think once we get through some home game results with our one and only John Somsky, we'll see who's going to win our prize this week. John, what have you got for us?
Well, we'll start off with K-Poker wannabe Ron Payton won his 4th nightly victory for the year. And Stewie 13, Stuart Carriage, got his 5th nightly victory. Eben Flows got his or her 1st nightly victory for the year.
Congrats.
And Michael Babker, got his 5th nightly victory. Hazy 08 got his 3rd nightly victory. And Shark Slayer 21, Lucky Haas, got his 2nd nightly victory for the year.
Some family victories in there. Congratulations, everybody.
Excellent. A really mad guy got his 3rd daily mixed victory for the year. And I believe that's the 2nd daily mixed victory in a row.
I was going to say, we've heard his name a few times here. Way to go, mad guy.
And Rick the Good Dog got his 3rd international victory for the year.
All he does is
Isma got his 2nd international victory for the year. And then K-Poker wannabe Ron Payton won the LPP event. So he can contact info@rec.poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker.
Holy cow, Ron's on a roll. So I happen to know that Ron also is the winner of the May 100K Studios leaderboard tournament series. He won. He had the most points. The match was, I haven't spoken to Ron since then, but I know the match was this Sunday, and I hope he got a chance to get his seat and advance to the next level. So I just want to highlight this again. So every Tuesday in June, if you play in our nightly home game club on Tuesday nights, you will be accumulating points. Everyone who makes the final table gets a certain number of points, and whoever has the most points at the end of the month wins entry into a semi-final tournament that's happening usually that following weekend. So if you are the winner at the end of June, keep your eyes peeled from a message from John or from Rob Gardner over at 100K Studios, letting you know how to get into that next tournament. because that's going to be super fun. And congratulations to Ron for just being on fire. That's a whole lot of winning for K Poker Wannabe. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, I believe probably due to the fact that I didn't respond quickly enough. I'm not sure he actually was able to play in the event, but still congratulations on making it.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll hear from Ron at one point soon, I hope. Chris, I think it's time for the nerdy die. I'll just take it from the top here. I see Hawk Plays, the RRRCCC, Gibber 222, Dark Angel, Phil, Luke, 6. Those are the 6 that I see. Do you see the same order?
I do. How come
Okay.
How come we always have the boring 6?
I know we need, and that's not even, there's like,
come on,
almost 3
people,
times that many
give me
people
a 7 or
watching
something.
right
Give
now.
me a challenge.
If you're watching right now, hold on. Let's just give them a couple more minutes here. If you're watching this live on YouTube right now, I can tell there's more than 6 people watching. Just type the words Food Bank in to the chat.
You could win a prize
and
make me happy. Make my heart.
Yeah, Chris,
I don't want to roll a dumb box car. Come on. I bought all these fancy dice and I always have to roll the 6-sider.
That's right. Come on. So I guess we'll just talk about a couple other things before we do, so that other folks can get a chance to get that. Oh, there we go. We got 7 with Evil Roy.
Roy to the rescue.
I knew Dave would have our back here. So once again, thanks to John Somsky for all the amazing work he does on our home game club. We just keep piling more and more on him, but he just delivers time after time. It's a great feature. If you're not involved in our home game club, then you really are missing out, folks. You can win different prizes on different nights. It's free to join. It's the toughest home play money tournament series in the world. I'm not the only one who says it. Come and see if you can get a piece of that action. If you go to Rec.Poker homepage, you can see what's going on there. All right. I think that brings us to 7. And
right. I got 7. If I roll, I've got the nerdy 8-sider rather than the boring 6-sider. If I roll an 8, we re-roll. Right?
Okay, sounds good. Let's do it.
Here we go. It's a 7. See, Evil Roy. Look at
that. Dave. Oh man, Dave just wins everything.
He doesn't even. I mean, he doesn't even enter.
He wasn't even going to play.
He wasn't even going to play, and he's still a winner.
That is something else. Well, Dave, you know the rules. You got to send me that email, info@rec.poker. We're gonna have to start minting some new kinds of prizes for Dave. I think Dave's already experienced all the different prizes we would normally give out as a consequence of this.
Well, you know, I kind of blame the two of you. You were begging not to roll the boxcar, and Dave was sitting there going I feel guilty. I've won too much. I won't put my name in. And then you say, please, someone put it in. And of course Dave wins. Of course he does.
Of course he does.
And that you should not feel guilty, Dave, that you are absolutely great that you won.
That's
maybe part of the prize can be some of Phil's bamboozled tears. Maybe that could be the prize we said.
Yeah, we are collecting Phil's tears.
Yeah.
And I think I've been coming up with. I mean, I've just been collecting them because it's fun.
Yeah.
But
now we have something to do with them.
It.
You know, I like that. It's like for the prize that you can't give for somebody who has everything.
All right. Well, that sounds great. At least it's nice to have a plan. At least we've got a plan. All right. Well, folks, thanks for tuning in. Like every week, this was the most fun I have all week. Actually, you know, I wasn't gonna say this, but when Sean started talking about the work that he and his wife do with autistic kids and animals, how important animals are and everything, I'm going to dedicate this episode to my family dog, Berkeley, who was a freaking champion. We had to put him down a little while ago, and it has just gutted me and my wife. Mrs. Bluffsterini and I are we're struggling. So I miss my dog so much. He was great. If you're listening to this, please send me a tweet with a photo of you and your dog, or just your dog or your cat or your pot-bellied pig or whatever pet you have that you love, at RecPoker Jim Mrs. Blusterini and I could really use some nice pet pictures this week to cheer us up. So thank you, Berkeley, for 13 amazing years. You will always be remembered. And I guess that's all I got to say about that. So thanks for tuning in this week. It's been a pleasure as always. I have to thank the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. Of course, Sean McCormack. He is the poker boss. Chris Jones and John Somsky for joining me here. Everyone in the YouTube chat, that was awesome. You guys are the best. And to all you listening at home, thanks for your support. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.